This is Let's Talk Business with your hosts, Marc Ebinger and Howie Nestel. Now, here's Marc.
Welcome to Let's Talk Business, a show that talks entrepreneurship with some of the best businesses in the San Antonio area. Coming up on the show today, we're going to talk with Shea Pumarejo, the CEO and designer at Younique Designs and an expert at kitchen and bath design for remodels. Shea, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Marc.
You bet. We're also going to talk with Paraic Mulgrew, the owner of Night Watch Games. Paraic specializes in game design and community building. Paraic, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much.
In studio with us today is Howie Nestel, the owner of Sharkmatic Advertising. It's one of my favorite company names, by the way, where he and his team have helped over 1,500 clients grow their marketing influence. Howie, welcome back.
Thank you, Marc. I appreciate it. The name's not for sale, but the company is $1.3 billion.
Billion with a B. Anyway, all right, and I'm your host, Marc Ebinger, the owner of Crükus Marketing Agency, a company that specializes in giving small businesses a competitive edge by hiring low-cost lead generation and telemarketing experts from outside the United States and everything else, as I built my entire company based on remote workers from the Philippines. A quick reminder for our listeners, you can catch video and podcast versions of the show anytime by visiting our website at satalkradio.com. And if you're a business owner in the San Antonio area and would like to have your company featured on the show, we'd love to have you. Visit our website at satalkradio.com or call our office at 210-879-8804. That's 210-879-8804. All right, so I know there's a lot to talk about here, and I usually put in a chunk of stuff. But definitely, I think I want to spend some extra time with each of you guys today because I think there's just so much in here to talk about. So I'm just going to jump right into the introductions, and then we'll just kind of see how time fills out because I think we're going to be a pretty chatty group here. So first up on the show is Shea Pumarejo, the CEO and principal designer at Younique Designs and an expert at kitchen and bath designs for remodels. So Shea, again, welcome. You are a certified master kitchen and bath designer, a 9-time NKBA National Design Competition winner, International Design and Architectural Awards as well, and the KBDN Awards, the kitchen bath design. So you definitely know what you're doing.
A little bit.
Do you enjoy it?
I love it.
What do you love about it?
So I love walking into a space and seeing the potential.
Mm-hmm.
Most of the homes that I walk in, obviously the homeowner's ready to remodel. So it's dated or it's not functioning for them in some way. And I love the challenge of just kind of having those existing conditions and those parameters that I have to design within. And we really dive in deep with our clients to find out how they're using the space, who's using the space, how many cooks are in that kitchen at a time, what else are they doing within that space beside cooking? Are we entertaining? Are we doing homework and art projects in the kitchen, as a lot of us do? And then really creating that space to function specifically for how that family lives within that space.
So your passion is there.
My
right?
passion. And I love, so what we do is mostly completely transformational. So from the before pictures to the after pictures, you would not recognize that as the same space.
So do you do a lot on social media where you get to share that with the rest of us?
I do.
You do? Excellent. So Instagram, Facebook, where are you
Instagram and Facebook.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
So lots of before and afters.
Lots of before and afters.
All right, cool. I like that.
I would say most homes are not optimized for the current owner, right? Because
Right.
somebody else built it
Mhm.
for their needs and their specs, and then somebody buys it, and then they start to realize, oh man, if I only had this, if I could only have this access,
Or if
et
this
cetera.
was only moved there.
Right.
I don't know about you. I've lived in a lot of homes in my lifetime, and I have never moved into a home that completely functioned for the way that I needed it to. Like there are always frustrations about a space, and you're like, man, why didn't they just take the time
Right.
to consider this or think about the flow and think about, like, I need landing space there to put my groceries down and load them into the fridge, or I need, whatever it is, there's always some sort of pain point and frustration. And so when you're going into a kitchen remodels are not inexpensive. For us, they start around $100,000. And that's, nothing to sneeze at.
No.
But you can spend a lot of money on a remodel and still have it not function when you're finished.
Yeah,
That's
but
'cause
now
Maybe you
didn't
just made
start
it
properly.
pretty.
back,
Yeah.
back in the day, you can buy a house for 100,000, but now you can't even get a car for 100,000. So I
No.
think that sounds reasonable.
Right?
Especially if you're watching those shows out of California and they're talking about remodels running 100, 150,000. That's a standard budget.
Oh, yeah.
Easily. And that's for much smaller space because property values in California are a lot more than what we get for square footage here in San Antonio.
Well, all the money's in the land there.
The money's in the
Yeah.
land, but like with the pandemic, we really kind of saw a rise in prices of building materials and kind of just about everything that gets shipped from around the world. And there were all kinds of supply chain issues, and that has kind of gotten under control, for the most part.
Right. Supply is there, but pricing didn't go back to what it
Pricing
used to.
went down, but not down to where it was pre-pandemic.
Right.
Does it ever? I mean, it's like
No,
insurance prices.
like
never
gas
go down, right?
prices, right?
So-
They go up, they don't come back down.
So you're a certified master designer. What does
Right.
that mean?
Well, I'm a certified master kitchen and bath designer through the NKBA. That's the National Kitchen and Bath Association. And they literally set the standard for kitchen and bath design around the world. So they do all sorts of studies as to, how to make a space ergonomic and how to make it function and how to make it safe. And it has to do with clearances and landing spaces and how door swings into a space. And they also do ADA accessible standards and that sort of thing. So it really goes above and beyond your building codes. Your local building codes are set. Those are the minimum safety standards.
You really focus on functionality, right? I mean, that's
Function
the whole
first,
thing.
for sure.
Yeah.
Especially so a kitchen and a bathroom, like those are the workhorses of your home, right? You have cabinetry and you're storing a lot of things and you're using a lot of things. The other spaces in our homes, like a bedroom and a living room, you have furniture and you spend time in those spaces, but it's not functioning the same way, right?
Right.
Most of the things that we store are in the kitchen and in the bathroom. So really having well thought out planning of how those spaces are being used, and everybody lives within their home differently. So everybody cooks differently. I have some clients who, for example, I just finished a project for a woman who loves to bake. And her kitchen's kind of small. She's just downsized. And her kitchen wasn't that big, but she loves to bake. And she wants to be able to have all of her baking things in a space where she can utilize that and not have to, like get down on her hands and knees to crawl into the back of that cabinet and get out that big heavy mixer and use that, because then we tend to not do the things that we enjoy because it's not easy to get to them. It's not easy to use them. So what I did was I created a floor to ceiling full depth cabinet for her, and it has all of her baking things inside. So at the top of that cabinet where she has to reach up high, we had vertical dividers for her baking sheets, her cake pans, her muffin tins, and all of those things. And then kind of at counter level, we had a rollout, and I did an outlet in the back of this cabinet. There's a safety on it. So when you close the doors, there's a latch switch that turns the power off to that so that it's not a fire hazard. But she can put her small appliances there that she uses, like her mixer and her blender, and she can roll that out and use those appliances in space and not have to lift them and put them on the counter. And then when she's finished, she just rolls it back in and closes the door. So underneath
brilliant.
that, we have a drawer for kind of all of her measuring spoons and measuring cups and, rubber spatulas and all of the baking things. And underneath that, mixing bowls. And everything is right there for her. So she can just like grab what she needs, and it's all in that zone for her baking.
So when it comes to remodeling, the designer's role is pretty straightforward, but the creativity needed there, I think, is pretty vast, and I think the experience would help with that as well. What do you see the designer's role in when it comes to remodeling?
So we're really a one-stop shop. We're more than just the designer that is picking pretty finishes. Most interior design programs in colleges, they don't get into kitchen and bath design. There's a real push at the university level to push students into commercial design. And so they're missing out on that whole, because a lot of the students that come to me as interns and whatever are really disappointed once they get into the whole curriculum, and they wanted to get into residential design and they're being pushed into commercial. But so we're the one-stop shop. We go in and we measure the existing space and we draw the as-builts. And then I sit down and do a rough sketch and I bubble out where the work zones are going to be. This is all after I have our initial meeting. Our project kickoff meeting can last up to 3 hours. And that's where I have the whole family there, and we are really asking more questions than you ever wanted to know about your kitchen and how it gets used, and do the kids help cook, and who are you grabbing snacks on the go and waters on the go, or are we buying in bulk? How does that space
Where are
function?
you going to feed the pets?
Exactly. That too. That's a big part of it. And then how do you shop too? Because some of us shop at Costco and we need storage for our bulk items, or some of us, go to the grocery store every day so that we have fresh ingredients. But everybody is different. And so we're going to go and I'm going to space plan that and create those work zones and create the storage for every single thing that you have. I'm going to inventory your pots and pans and your dishes and what do you use most often. Those things are going to be easily accessible, and other things we're going to create storage where we don't need to get to it every day. And then from there we go and we're going to draw your construction plans. So your new floor plan, your demo plan, your reflected ceiling plan, all your detailed elevations. And our plans are very detailed in, how the tile is going to lay out in the backsplash, what the cabinets are going to be. And our cabinet drawings are very, very detailed. And they show, every little filler and what the door style is and where the hardware is going to go. And this has all been very well thought out. Are we having drawers on those base cabinets or doors? And are we, every detail is in our drawings.
Soft close, lighting underneath
All
the
of it.
cabinets. What kind of lights to put in? Where the switch is going to be? Do you have to walk all the way to the end of the cabinet to turn them on?
Switching and
Oh my God.
lighting is definitely.
If you could tell, I did a remodel, and there's some things that I was like, oh, I wish somebody had told me that I needed an outlet here, because this is where we drop our cell phones, and we all want to, it's like, and that's why you need a certified master
Right.
designer.
And aside from that, I also attend KBIS, which is the Kitchen and Bath Industry Show. It's the largest kitchen and bath show on the planet. And
Is it somewhere fun?
It's either in Vegas or in Orlando, because it's been combined with the Builder Show for the last several years. And so it's like Disney World for me and for builders. In 3 days, you can't see everything, right? But you get to see the latest and greatest in technology and in innovation and in finishes and fixtures and what's really happening within the industry. So
Those are fun.
yeah, if you don't do this every day, it's hard to know what's available to you. And so just having somebody that's kind of a thought leader and in touch with what's happening, cutting edge in the industry, really allows you to make decisions based on everything that's available.
Yeah. And more so than ever, your home is your largest asset, your biggest investment, biggest liability, whatever you want to
Where you
call
spend
it.
all your time.
Yeah. And so
Absolutely.
you want it done right. You got to have it done right. And talk a little bit about what happened during the pandemic. What shift did you see in your industry? Are more people staying in their home? Don't pick 50 different things.
Yeah.
Pick one big one that you saw like a
It was
big
a roller
trend
coaster ride.
completely changed.
It was a roller coaster ride. And it was complete panic, because you think as a designer, oh my gosh, people are going to stop spending money and this is the first thing they're going to cut back on. But really, for about 2 months, everything came to a screeching halt. And then the phone started ringing again. And I'm like, what's happening? Well, what was happening was people were officing out of their house and the kids were home. and they were all stuck in the house together.
Yeah.
And
They
for the-
realize they don't like their kids as much as maybe they thought.
Right.
I'm sorry, this is not a therapy
Yeah,
session,
or their
Mark. Well, that's
spouse or-
in the next hour.
But, here we are, because for the last, 20 years or so, we've all been loving these big open floor plans, right? And everybody wants to be communal, and everybody wants to have these big open spaces. And now the pandemic forced everybody into the home together, and noise travels. And so when you're on a Zoom call and you can hear the kids, in the other room, and you can hear the dog barking, and, this created a need for
Blood pressure medication.
for sure, but also for privacy and for, finding a space where you can close the door and just, have thoughts of your own.
Yes.
And the other thing is you started noticing that this is not working, this is broken, there was so much remodeling going on because people are finally spending time in their own homes.
Well, that too. And right now, especially, I think our industry is just exploding because, the real estate market did what it did. And new construction is so expensive right now. And people are really deciding to stay in their homes.
Yeah, interest rates are high, so they don't want to go buy another house because I saw a report that 60-something% of the population is still at a very low interest rate. And if they move, they're not going to get that same
I'm
low
never
interest rate.
moving. I bought 2 years ago when it was like amazing.
What rate did you get?
Like 2.5.
Yeah. Oh, that's better than mine. I think mine's 2.9. That's really good.
Yeah, so I can never move.
Well, we're running up on time here. Is folks want to get in touch with you? How do they do that?
Absolutely. So they can hit me up on my website. It's www.myyounique, spelled YOUNIQUE, designs.com. My Instagram and my Facebook are both at Younique Designs. And my office number is
It's 210 probably.
210-357-7828. And I'm also giving a special for anybody who mentions this podcast. I have a initial design consultation that's typically $500, and it's free for anybody that mentions this podcast.
Excellent.
Awesome. Well, thanks, Shea.
Yeah, thank you.
Learn a lot. I love going to home and garden shows and stuff like that. So what's this one in Vegas? Is it once a year or what?
Once a year. It's not a home and garden show. It's an industry-specific show.
Yeah.
So
they wouldn't let me in. Is that what you're saying?
No, they'd let you in probably, but it's more than a home and garden show. It's it's a home and garden show on crack. It's
all the latest, greatest technologies.
It's amazing.
Gadgets,
And
vendors.
Combined with the builder show, so it's everything about the construction industry, and then the kitchen. So the kitchen and bath stuff's kind of on one side, and it's in the convention center either in Orlando or in Vegas, and the reason they have them there is because those are the two largest conventions.
Yeah, and
centers.
Vegas has that new one. I was just there, and it was incredible.
How's Vegas doing anyway, Howie? I mean, I hear that it's like a lot of homeless people and stuff like that. What was your experience?
Vegas?
You were just there, yeah.
There are. It seems like a lot more, than there ever have been, and as you go further west, you start to see more and more of that.
Wow.
They have. And Vegas, it's not like they have decent weather. But when I was there 3 weeks ago, it was actually cooler than it was in San Antonio.
Yeah, well,
Vegas was 99 dry, and here was 105 and humid, baby.
Yeah,
but I know that's happening a lot, and I think you're seeing that not for this show, but I think you're seeing an income divide that continues to widen, and in the home industry, I mean, you could start to see people are getting to the point where they can't even afford the homes that they've owned for many, many years. Their taxes go up. The expenses to run those homes are up, and so partly what you do is valuable, but I think it becomes valuable for a smaller and smaller population because there are I think more have-nots that can't afford $100,000 to $150,000 kitchen remodel.
Well,
but
luckily,
you can target those people once you find them, once you know where they're at, and then they talk.
Luckily, historically, our property values double every 10 to 20 years. So if you've been in your home more than 20 years, it's probably time for a remodel about every 20 years, right? Need to update things. You've got some equity in the house, and so you can
Yeah,
Get a
that's
home
important,
equity
right.
line
Borrow from-
credit,
yeah.
home
Makes-
equity loan.
Makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
And you increase the value of your home after
Mhm.
that.
I do
it's
believe
more
there should
fun.
be tax limits on,
Right.
Property taxes.
yeah, for the elderly.
Yeah.
You know, like once you reach retirement age.
No,
there
they
should-
do. They
should-
have it. Yeah. Then
Yeah.
becomes your homestead, and then you stop at that point.
Mhm.
But what happens if that point is pretty high, and then you're stuck there? Yeah.
All right, next up on the show is Paraic Mulgrew, the owner of Night Watch Games. Paraic specializes in game design and community building, which is a fantastic combination. So, Paraic, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much.
So, you guys have won the Gamma, is that?
Gamma, yeah. that's
Gamma Power Retailer Award in 2019, 2020 winner of the current Best of San Antonio Award, and 2021 winner of the Express News Readers Choice Award. So congratulations on all of that. So obviously, this is cool. My daughter's super excited about wanting to go visit your space. We've never been there. We're definitely going to make a stop by there. But what was the inspiration for creating this type of business?
Well, Brenda and I were in the Army, and we were traveling the world. One of the things that we would do to every new spot was go visit the game store of that town. And usually there was only one. And resoundingly, the experience was that when we walked back out of that store, we always said to each other, we could have done that better. They had a lot of potential of space or ambiance or whatever, and they just didn't realize it or they didn't pursue it. And we felt really disappointed in what we thought the relationship should be between us and that store. And it was really sterile and really disappointing. So that was the experience that was really in the last 15 to 20 years of game store hopping. And then when we got out of the Army, we really asked ourselves, what's next for us? And it was Brenda's idea to say, well, let's build a game store. And I said, honey, that's the kind of conversation you have when you've won $1 million. You know, what are you going to do with $1 million? And we had not won $1 million. So I thought it was kind of a ludicrous idea at first, but she persuaded me with her past experiences as a restaurant manager and a business associate for Bill Miller's up at the executive level. And then my gaming experience, the two of us combined could get some good results. And we liquidated everything we owned to put into the store. And that's sort of one of the charms of the stores. As you walk in, it feels really homey because it's literally pieces of my home.
Oh, wow.
The rugs are out of my living room. Some of the tables are out of my dining room. The wall decor was out of my living room. So you really get the sense that this is not, the relationship that you have with the store is not a retail relationship. And I think that was actually some of the basis of our really rampant success, is that the relationship between the consumer and the seller didn't focus on that. And gamers, they're sort of a disenfranchised demographic. They're always looking for a belonging. And that was the disappointing thing that we experienced, was there was no home for them. There was a place for them to shop. And sometimes, if they were lucky, there were fold-out tables and chairs for them to actually play the game. But there was nothing that really empowered their interests. It was just this kind of, I'll serve you and you can buy from me, but that's the end of it. Whereas I wanted a space where they came in and they felt legitimized in this very niche-y type of interest. And interestingly, that whole industry is blowing up. I think hopefully that's a good thing for most of us. One, it's becoming more mainstream because the mainstream message and the genres that are being presented on the big screen are these kind of things like superheroes and fantasy. Dungeons and Dragons just came out with their movie, Game of Thrones on TV. So all these kind of what used to be very niche-y, weird type of subject matter is now mainstream. So you now have mainstream people like yourself who are now curious enough to come visit a space. And my job, I think, is to make that space as inviting and tempting as possible. And I can't do that with just selling merchandise to you.
So the name, is it from Game of Thrones?
I have a funny story about that. Disclaimer, totally not true, but here's the story. George R.R. Martin called me one day and he said, hey, I'm writing this story and I have this sort of cabal of people that protect the North Wall and I want to name them after your store. I want to call them the Night Watchers or the Night's Watch. And I said, okay, George, you can do that, but on a couple of conditions. One, You have to have wolves in the story because I have 2 large dogs at the store, and they're wolf dogs. 2, you have to sort of change it. It can't be Night Watch. It has to be something else. And he said, well, I'll do Night's Watch. I said, all right, that's good enough, George. I said, but here's the big one. You have to have a character in the story that's named after me. And he said, all right, I can do that. I said, and that character has to be really good with the ladies. And sure enough, there's a character in the story called Podrick, which is my name with the D in the middle. And he is pretty good with the ladies.
Yeah, because you don't want to piss off your wife, and your business partner. By the way, let's go back a little bit because Mark, how do you feel about being called mainstream?
Oh yeah, I'm definitely mainstream. I'll take that all day and twice on Sunday.
Yeah. By the way, there's an award that you don't even know you won. It's the Sharkmatic Advertising. Oh yeah, that's a cool store award because I asked all my employees are between early 20s to very early 30s. And on Thursday night at my office, we host game night. They don't invite me; they ask me to buy the beer, but I don't get to participate. And they have all their cards. They have I don't know exactly what happens because I don't have cameras in there. But they play games and they go out to gaming stores and buy. And I said, "Oh, have you heard of Night's Watch Games? Oh yeah, that's a cool store.
That's our demographic."
Yeah.
Interestingly, when most people think about gaming, they think about children gaming. And also there's the idea that gaming is always electronic. You have consoles and, a screen in front of your face. This gaming is actually adult-oriented gaming, and it's all analog so that you're at the table and you're interacting with a human, and there's an energy to that interaction that does not transfer to electronic gaming. So we really focus on that, and so it's your peers sitting at the table. You'll see your dentist sitting down, and he's playing with cards, and then there's another person that you recognize from school who is moving meeples around a board game. And it's a different environment for people that are looking to become gamers. And that's one of our missions, is really to convert people that are ignorant of what gaming is and show them the vast potential of it. And again, legitimize it, make it cool, make it something that you're not ashamed of doing.
So other than going in and meeting people and playing games, what else do you expect what do you expect when people walk into the store? Do people bring their own beverages? Do you provide them? Can people bring their own food? Is it like a living room? What's kind of like a typical
A little bit of
show up?
all of that. The store model or the business model for games is now to incorporate some type of eatery inside, a cafe or something. One, it's good for business because you keep now customers at your table and they tend to spend more while they're there. But 2, it also enhances the ambiance of the space. And our ambiance is a very medieval slant towards your surroundings. It looks like you're actually in a medieval keep when you're inside. There's weapons and armor on the wall, and like I said, the wolf dogs are hanging out, and you have these long banquet tables that look like you're in a grand hall of a castle. And our eatery, and here's the dovetail, our eatery is called the Scullery, and it's really this very small space that is highly utilitarian in every inch of what it does, and we serve food. And again, this is echelons above what we'd call gamer food. It's not Cheetos and Mountain Dew. It's paninis and baked potatoes and shrimp cocktail and all these things that you wouldn't expect in a game store. And then we elevate it even more by serving it on horn plates with wrought iron utensils, and the people serving you are in sort of these Viking outfits. So the whole thing is very immersive. We really would like our customers, when they come in, to forget about the real world. Forget about those taxes that you guys love talking about. I hate talking about that stuff. Give me dragons and elves and dwarves every day. And that's what the space does, is it divorces those real world stressors and puts you in a setting where you can really just commune with other people and using games as the lubricant to do it. And it's really a good time. We have people stay there for 12 hours. I almost want to charge them rent because they're living there.
You pay by the hour, right?
Yeah.
So obviously your place is going to have an impact on people. So how has it really, your store, give us an example of how it's changed the lives of your patrons?
So yeah, I was referring to the relationship between the store and the customer base and how it has to transcend just a buyer-seller, because Amazon does that, and Amazon does it better than I do it. So why would I compete in that arena? So a store, a communal store like that has to offer something that Amazon doesn't, and that's the human connection and the relationship. And to show how profound Night Watch Games has impacted people on that level, we have numerous life events that happen inside the walls that you wouldn't expect. The first one that's kind of predictable is birthdays. We have some private rooms that you can rent, so people will rent the room and have a birthday party. And again, these are the adults having the birthday, not the kids. We're like full-grown, professional, white-collar workers having a birthday surrounded by games in a private room. But we've also had baby showers, bachelorette parties, bachelor parties. One of our gamers came in and celebrated his divorce. We've had 5 different customers get on their knee and propose to their future spouse in the store, and all of those were positive experiences. 3 of those, we actually did a full-blown wedding in the store, full procession. I actually got ordained because somebody wanted me to preside over it. So I'm now Lord Reverend Mulgrew. That's official, my title. And then to bring that whole life cycle full circle, we've celebrated 2 memorials. Unfortunately, one of our customers was a suicide, and then another one was a COVID casualty. But the family said, let's celebrate their life in the space they were happiest. And that was Night Watch Games. That's not typical retail. That's not GameStop. That's not anything that you would normally expect. So there's a magic almost happening within the walls of Night Watch Games that totally transcends what you would normally think you're walking into. And that's the hook, is once you get a sense of that feel, you want to be a part of it. And then gaming in all its different forms are just the lubricant for us to connect with other humans. And COVID, we talk about, the effect of pandemics on business. We had the same kind of panic reaction. Is like, oh, we're a communal business. We're hamstrung. What are we going to do? But we had such a vibrant relationship with the community that they would shop through us in any means possible. Curbside assistance, remote selling, just to keep us alive. And I remember some people sending us money through our online service, and I'd call them saying, hey, you sent me $200, but I'm not sure what the product is that you bought. And they would say, I didn't buy anything.
No.
I just want you to have $200 to stay alive.
Wow.
And we actually thrived through the COVID era. It was really fascinating and almost like heartwarming that when you're down, there's a community that if you serve them right, will rally behind you.
Yeah. Paraic, this is a good example of what I tell my clients after having been in marketing now for 35 years, and I've worked with 1,500 clients. I tell them, find your point of differentiation. Yeah. Not just a neat slogan. It's not just something you wrote up in your business plan, but what is your USP, your unique selling proposition? Because if not, you're just like everybody else. Yep. And if you're just like everybody else, to your point with Amazon, somebody's going to do it better than you are.
Yep.
And if you're like everybody else and you have other people doing it better, guess what? You're null and void.
Yep.
You're no longer relevant or necessary in the marketplace.
Exactly. Yep.
But if you're unique, if you're different, if you're better at something and you meet clients where they are, especially at something that a big multi-billion-dollar multinational corporation can't do, and that's your unique selling proposition, then guess what? Now you're going to build clients and fans for life.
When you're dealing with communal things and you have that differentiation, I have discovered that that differentiation is directly rooted to the values of the store owner, the store designer, or the company owner. And the values are something that if you're aware of, it can really fuel the differentiators. Is how do you deal with your customers? Who are your customers? And what is the product that you're trying to do with them? All that is, I think, an extension of values. And even in kitchen design, I think that you probably bring a lot of you into the decisions of the kitchen, but then even more, you're probably aware of the values of the family that you're designing for, and therefore the space starts reflecting those values.
Yeah. Yes. So I named my company Younique Designs because I design specific for the individual and not try and put my stamp on it, and it sounds like, we're talking about environment, and environment is everything, right? And I feel like that's why your clientele has made such a connection with your business.
There's a certain clientele that values environment. I find that gamers have a lot of bad habits or a bad culture that they're derived from. And so there are older gamers that usually come into Night Watch games and they see this amazing environment, and there's an unspoken relationship if you need to take care of this because it's more than just folding tables and folding chairs. So be nice to the setting. There's some older gamers that just don't want to deal with that. That's not the gaming tradition that they come up with. And so they actually reject Night Watch games. As good as it is, they reject it because it's just not the relationship that they want. And so the newer gamers, the younger gamers, the college-age students generally will come in and they don't have those bad history of what gaming is. And so we can mold them and infuse the love of gaming with a blank slate.
Yeah. And then they grow up thinking this is the way it should have been all along everywhere you go because they haven't. But yeah, you're right. Consumers come jaded. I don't care how good you are. There's always going to be somebody who doesn't like you.
Yeah.
Get used to it. Get a thick skin. I tell people all the time. If not, don't go into entrepreneurship. Because if you want everybody to love you and love your business and love your store or whatever, you're going to get that bad review of somebody that just doesn't get it, that just puts up something stupid and whatever it is. So, I like to say individuals are smart and kind, but the masses are asses.
Absolutely.
So
Find your tribe.
Exclude those. Right. Find your tribe. Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely.
But there's no downside to being unique and different. There is a big downside to being average and ordinary.
Agreed.
And if you're average and ordinary, you're going to get the same thing that everybody else got and don't complain.
Yep. Indeed. So we've made some waves and we've set that standard. And I think that's why we won some of the awards we do. And the people in the industry, again, either love us or hate us. They hate us because we've raised the bar and they can't measure up and they're feeling the pressure. But
they should just be inspired in a way.
I hope that's what we would like, is just to be an inspiring force of what makes gaming what it is, and how do you make the relationship between humans better through that type of interaction.
Yeah,
everybody loves Cheers. You know that old show Cheers, where everybody knows your name. There's a certain culture. You walk in. It resonates, right? People know your name. They feel comfortable there. They like the other patrons that are there. That's what. Yeah. But you don't find that often now in retail.
Let me tell one quick story. I'll keep it real quick, but it illustrates that very fact. Is we had one of our gamers call me at around 1 a.m. It was almost 2 a.m. Answered the phone, and he says, "Hey, I've just been carjacked." And I said, "Whoa, are you all right?" And he said, "Yeah, I'm all right." I said, Are you stranded? Can I come pick you up or something?" And he said, "No, they actually carjacked me right outside of my apartment, so I'm at home." And I said, "Well, have you called the police?" And he said, "No, not yet." And it dawned on me. I said, his first call was to me, his game store owner. I thought, wow, okay, well, let's get you squared away and get the police involved. And sure enough, all that panned out the way you would expect. And then a member of our community heard that he had gotten carjacked, and the really sad part of the story was his games were in the trunk. So he lost all his games. And so the community, without any prompting from me, made a fundraiser. And they raised $3,000 and they gifted it to this guy so that he could get a new car or get new games or whatever he wanted to do with it. And the interesting thing about that is the people that donated the money, they didn't know him. They weren't game friends with him. They just knew he was a night watcher, and a night watcher was in need.
That's pretty.
You
good
don't
community.
find that at
created
GameStop.
a community.
Yeah, it's amazing.
There's no correlation between you guys and GameStop. I mean, there's like no soul over there. You know what I mean? And there's soul here. There's a big difference. All right, if people want to get in touch with you, how do they do that?
We have a couple of outlets. We have a Facebook page, Night Watch Games on Facebook, and we have a community page on Facebook called Night Watchers. And then we have www.nightwatchgames.com. We also have an Instagram channel. We have our own podcast, Night Watch Games Podcast. And then we would really prefer that you just come in the store so we can meet you in person.
Cool.
Yeah.
You can apply to be one of our night watchers.
I can't wait to go check it out.
Oh, you'll love it. We have a program called Ladies Night Out every other Thursday. It's a sort of a female-centric setting where my wife and a bevy of coaches take pods of women and teach them how to play games. And because it's one of those demographics that's sort of been disenfranchised and overshadowed by the male ego, we're actively trying to wrestle that back so that we empower women to sit at game tables and enjoy what they're doing on very equal footing And so,
You just described the construction industry.
yeah, I'm sure. And it's blown up. It started with 7 ladies, and now it sells out. It's like a 45-person event. And it's so big now, we stopped selling tickets to it. We just open it up.
That
So,
sounds awesome.
yeah,
That's awesome.
you are more than welcome
I'm
to
scared
come
to
by.
bring my 17-year-old son, though. I think
That's
I'll
good
never
enough.
see him
Yeah.
again.
Yeah.
Marc, I'm kind of inspired by these two. May I close with a little quote?
Sure. Right.
If you're not living your mission statement, it's useless.
Yeah.
How many people write it out on their website? And you guys are living your mission statement.
Thank you.
Love it.
All right, as we wrap up the show, great reminder, check out our latest podcast. Catch video version of the show anytime by visiting our website at satalkradio.com. Great job, everybody. That's going to do it for this week.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.